We are live.
Yay! We made it to Friday. Before I forget, I am old new dude. He is
Richard York, Asher's trueborn son.
um, Tyrion. I was looking forward to this chapter as soon as we started the book, just because I know he ends up being a bad guy later on, but Tyrion to begin with, I
Oh yeah.
find extremely funny to read. It is definitely fun, but Tyrion to begin with, I find.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Echo, echo, echo.
Yeah, you caught me. And I always do the video just to make sure it comes on and everything. And then I switch to your email showing me what you're going to say. But Terry, I love this chapter. It's a really good chapter. There's a couple of hidden things in there that I like, but it's a really good chapter. And as always with these videos, live streams, we start with the brains of the operation, which is Richard. He will tell us what he saw uh, as he goes through, and then I'll jump in with my stupid stuff every now and then.
All right. I'll probably have I probably have a better microphone, but worse ability to hear this time for those who are wondering why they can hear me better. But
I'll raise my hand if you need to hear me.
I can hear you. It's just a little quieter than it is with the headphones on. All
All
right.
right.
We constantly battle with the weird inconsistencies with probably my phone. I'm guessing. I don't know what something's inconsistent about our connection to StreamYard. So sometimes I try and use the headphones, and today the headphones weren't working, so we're switching. All right. Sometimes we get like no audio if I don't use the headphones. So we don't know what's going on. We don't know what we're doing.
I got my fingers crossed.
All right. So in this chapter, Tyrion chats with Cersei and then with Dorcas. In the chilly white raiment of the Kingsguard, Sir Manonmore looked like a corpse in a shroud. Her Grace left orders. The council in session is not to be disturbed. It would be only a small disturbance, sir. Tyrion slid the parchment from his sleeve. I bear a letter from my father, Lord Tywin Lannister, the hand of the king. There is his seal. Her Grace does not wish to be disturbed, Sir Manon repeated slowly, as if Tyrion were a dullard who had not heard him the first time. Jaime had once told him that Moore was the most dangerous of the Kingsguard, excepting himself always, because his face gave no hint as what he might do next. So the chilly white raiment seems to tie the Kingsguard to the cold like the others, and of course he's being called a corpse in a shroud, so it's not subtle.
Yeah.
And Sir Manon is definitely dangerous to Tyrion.
Extremely.
He's as we have some foreshadowing here.
Big time.
It's probably worth pointing out that Tyrion is supposed to echo Ned. He's a bigamist who marries Catelyn's daughter. He becomes the hand of the king, and his chapters almost line up with Ned's chapters. So this is the becoming hand chapter, or we're trying to be named hand, or arguing about whether or not you should be named hand chapter of the story, right?
Right.
And similarly, there'll be a chapter where he sneaks down a crawlway to go to a brothel to see his lover, and so forth. Anyway, his sister Cersei said in a tone that was equal parts disbelief and distaste. I can see where Joffrey learned his courtesies. Tyrion paused to admire the pair of Valyrian sphinxes that guarded the door, affecting an air of casual confidence. So the sphinxes continue to puzzle me, as does the riddle. I just think we don't have enough information for the riddle.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna say anything.
You can always speculate, of course, but
Yeah. I know. I always say that until the books come out that
sure.
the the everybody's right, but my
And
opinion of that riddle and who it pertains to is just too far out there for
all right,
anybody to come along with me on that one. So
yeah.
I'm just gonna go ahead and keep my mouth
Until there's
shut.
more evidence, right? And as I am fond of saying, the books are deliberately ambiguous until George commits himself to something.
Yeah.
Littlefinger laughed. Well said, Lannister. A man after my own heart. Tyrion smiled at him, remembering a certain dagger with a dragonbone hilt and a Valyrian steel blade. We must have a talk about that, and soon. He wondered if Lord Peter would find that subject amusing as well. Please, he told them, do let me be of service in whatever small way I can. So this has always been kind of the biggest hole in the story, the fact that he knows that he needs to quickly get to Peter and the dagger, and yet he never does.
Right. Well, also what strikes me with Tyrion is his father gave him specific orders, and he doesn't do damn near any of it really. Um,
Yeah, he knows Peter's playing him false, and yet
right.
so you're right. He's basically been ordered to execute Peter.
Well, not only Peter, but I mean, he's supposed to get rid
Well,
of Varys,
well,
supposed
he's
to get
supposed to find out
Pycelle.
who's playing them false, right? And so
Right.
theoretically, he's supposed to execute Peter, and I suppose based on the way things go in this book, he probably should have executed Pycelle as well. That actually probably wouldn't have gone over all nearly as well with Tywin as executing Peter would have.
Well, I mean, I think that Tyrion enjoys the dance that
Yep.
is King's Landing, that is the small council. He knows he can get rid of them anytime he wants. I
Yeah,
mean, he snap his fingers, they're gone.
he's kind of the
But
opposite of Ned, right?
he
He's
loves that weaving of words and you step this way, so I'm going to step this way. I mean, he loves playing the Game of Thrones, the game of small councils, and I mean, it's fun to watch and it's fun to read, but that wasn't what he was sent to King's Landing to do.
Yep. Aerys Targaryen's last hand was killed during the sack of King's Landing. Though I doubt he'd had time to settle into the tower, he was only hand for a fortnight. The one before him was burned to death, and before them came two others who died landless and penniless in exile and counted themselves lucky. I believe my Lord Father was the last hand to depart King's Landing with his name, properties, and parts all intact. Fascinating, said Littlefinger, and all the more reason I'd sooner bed down in the dungeon. Perhaps you'll get that wish, Tyrion thought. So one of our POVs died in exile after serving as hand, right? So they're talking about Griff.
Yeah.
What does he know? Tyrion shrugged. He knows that your son's short reign has been a long parade of follies and disasters. That suggests that someone is giving Joffrey some very bad counsel. Cersei gave him a searching look. Joffrey's had no lack of good counsel. He's always been strong-willed. Now that he's king, he believes he should do as he pleases, not as he's bid. Crowns do queer things to the heads beneath them, Tyrion agreed. Power corrupts.
Yeah, but I do believe that he's having help being corrupted.
Yeah. It's clear that some people knew what was coming, and that Littlefinger is the one most likely to have planted the idea in his head. And whether you believe that that's through magical intervention or traditional planting of ideas in people's heads, the point is that it was not entirely his own idea.
Exactly. Now I am on the side of the fence that says that it's magical, but like I said, I mean, until the books come out, we're all right.
I'm expecting it to always remain ambiguous in that regard.
I got a feeling we're going to find out.
Well, that's the opposite of what I'm saying. I'm saying that I don't think he wants this. So I think George is a big fan of leaving some things as ambiguous, and so I wouldn't be at all surprised if it stays ambiguous.
But Littlefinger as a skin changer, I think is too big of an apple to leave sitting there in the tree. That he's going to want us all to take a bite of that apple, to where he can show this is what I did to all y'all all the way through these books.
Maybe.
Yeah, and you got half the people saying one thing, you got half the people saying the other thing.
I'm skeptical. I'm not there with you.
Well, he better tell me. I'm gonna hunt him down.
I think he wants it. I think he might throw out a few more nods and leave it ambiguous and with more hints, perhaps, just to make it that much more of an argument. I think he likes to stir these kind of debates, right?
Yeah, he gripes about social media and everybody talking about this stuff from thousands of miles away instead of the small book clubs like it was when the first book came out. But he sure does love I think he does love the arguing between two sides.
Definitely. I mean, he's kind of alluded to that many times with the regard, especially, he practically was begging the Order of the Green Hand to make that video.
Let's find him.
Your pitchforks.
I got plenty of swords now. I mean, I can arm us real well.
We don't need pitchforks. Well, maybe we do, but maybe to get to him. But the goal here is to actually follow through on his promise that we're allowed to lock him up, right?
Yeah, I can lock him up in my man pantry, lock both doors, and he can't come out till he's done.
Eddard Stark was plotting with Renly, and he'd written to Lord Stannis offering him the throne. We might have lost all, Even so, it was a close thing. If Sansa hadn't come to me and told me all her father's plans, Tyrion was surprised. Truly, his own daughter? Sansa had always seemed like such a sweet child, tender and courteous. So I'm still skeptical that Sansa actually made much difference. Due to the timing was really based upon Robert's death and not based upon Sansa going there. And so I'm just I get that Cersei specifically claims this. I just don't think it's actually all that true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's some truth to it. And this is one of those the hidden fingers type situation. She tells you the girl was wet with love. She would have done anything for Joffrey. And that
Yep.
is the exact type of person that Hidden Fingers can manipulate.
Sure.
So, I mean, I see Sansa wasn't so much all on Sansa's shoulders for telling Cersei what was going on. I think she was manipulated to do it.
Yeah, I try and stick with our original concept that these are things that are in the person's character, and that we don't want to deny the characters some agency.
Right. But it's like the little finger desire for Cat. I say the Three-Eyed Crow uses that desire to get Littlefinger to do certain steps at the beginning of Robert's rebellion.
Sure, I get it. I mean, it does make you easily manipulated. I get the idea.
Right. I'm saying this is one of those. It's not 50-50. There's still a percentage of it, but she wants Joffrey and to be queen so bad that all it took was just a little bit of Hidden Fingers to get her to go down that path instead of sitting in a room crying. I mean,
yeah, sure. I get it. I'm not sure if it was necessary. Sir Barristan was the Lord Commander of Robert Baratheon's Kingsguard, Tyrion reminded her pointedly. He and Jaime are the only survivors of Aerys Targaryen's 7. Are they? The small folk talk of him in the same way they talk of Serwyn of the Mearshield and Prince Aemon the Dragon Knight. What do you imagine they'll think when they see Barristan the Bold riding beside Robb Stark or Stannis Baratheon? Cersei glanced away. I had not considered that. Father did, said Tyrion. That is why he sent me. Whether Barristan remains with the third triplet or joins the second, he will add legitimacy. So there's a theory out there, right, that he's going to join with Aegon. Yeah, I know. It's definitely a reference to triplet Targaryens, as Louis said. It's I don't know. I think you're of the opinion he's going to stick with Dany.
Me?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, he's already bitten the knee to her. As long as she doesn't dismiss his butt, I mean, I think he's ride or die with Dany.
Yeah. Okay. There's people that claim that there's hints that he's gonna betray her and go over to Aegon, but I don't know. Either way.
Yeah.
Make no mistake, Tyrion. If I accept you, you shall be the king's hand in name, but my hand in truth. You'll share all your plans and intentions with me before you act. You do nothing without my consent. Do you understand? Oh, yes. Do you agree? Certainly, he lied. I'm yours, sister, for as long as I need to be, he thought. I'm saying he thought because it's not in quotes, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, such a great relationship.
Yeah. This is the dance that he just freaking loves it. All that time of drinking and whoring and reading and all that stuff, he's never got to actually put his brain into high gear and play this kind of game.
Lizzie says that Barristan said that he wanted to serve the true-born king or queen, so maybe it comes down to his perception of that truth. Right? No, I certainly see the arguments of why he would switch to Aegon. Anyway, I'm just not sure if he will or not. Who murdered Jon Arryn? Cersei yanked her hand back. How should I know? Cersei is a bit more honest in this whole conversation than Tyrion is.
Yeah. Well, this out of the blue question got an actual natural reaction from her that she didn't have time to think of something clever or a lie.
Yeah, this is where it really you really as a reader you first start to think in your first read through of maybe this isn't what we think. I never understood what Jaime saw in you apart from his own reflection. So Jaime is narcissist, while Cersei is narcissism. So narcissist is which is the Greek myth that inspired narcissism is would fall in love with his own reflection, and in later versions of the story would fall in love with his own twin sister. So the idea being that Jaime sees himself in people and falls in love with them. So he sees himself in Loras. He sees himself in, or what he wanted to be in Brienne, right? And he definitely sees himself in Cersei. How did you kill Robert? He did that himself. All we did was help. When Lancel saw that Robert was going after boar, he gave him strong wine, his favorite sour red, but fortified, 3 times the potency he was used to. The great stinking fool loved it. He could have stopped swilling it down any time he cared to, but no, he drained one skin and told Lancel to fetch another. The boar did the rest. You should have been at the feast, Tyrion. There has never been a boar so delicious. They cooked it with mushrooms and apples, and it tasted like triumph. Truly, sister, you were born to be a widow. Tyrion had rather liked Robert Baratheon, great blustering oaf that he was, doubtless in part because his sister loathed him so. So that's kind of understandable, I think.
Yeah.
I'll call upon the captain of my sister's household guard and remind him that I am no less a Lannister than she is. He needs to recall that his oath is to Castle Rock, not to Cersei or Joffrey. So it kind of reminds me of our own world and the concept of, swearing an oath to the Constitution and not to an individual and so forth.
Yeah.
My nephew is 13 years old today, Vylar. Try and recall that. I'll have the heads down on the morrow, or one of those empty spikes may have a different lodger. Tyrion is reestablishing order. There is no food coming in, is there? He said to Vylar. Little enough, the captain admitted. With the war in the Riverlands and Lord Renly raising rebels in Highgarden, the roads are closed to south and west. And what has my good sister done about this? She's taken steps to restore the king's peace, Vylar assured him. Lord Slint has tripled the size of the city watch, and the queen has put 1,000 craftsmen to work on our defenses. The stonemasons are strengthening the walls, carpenters are building scorpions and catapults by the 100. Fletchers are making arrows, the smiths are forging blades, and the alchemist guild has pledged 10,000 jars of wildfire. Tyrion shifted uncomfortably in his saddle. He was pleased that Cersei had not been idle, but wildfire was treacherous stuff, and 10,000 jars were enough to turn all of King's Landing into cinders. Some ominous potential foreshadowing there.
Very much so.
Lord Littlefinger always finds a way, my lord. He's imposed a tax on those wishing to enter the city. Yes, that would work, Tyrion said, thinking. Clever. Clever and cruel. He was always clever.
Yes, very much.
Lord Varys, I had not thought to see you here. The others take him. How did he find them so quickly? Forgive me if I intrude, Varys said. I was taken by a sudden urge to meet your young lady. Young lady, Shay repeated, savoring the words. You are half right, my lord. I'm young. 18, Tyrion thought. 18 and a whore, but quick of wit, nimble as a cat between the sheets, with large dark eyes and fine black hair and a sweet, soft, hungry little mouth. And mine, damn you, eunuch. Reminds me of Catelyn's 8 of Game and Catelyn 3 of Clash. Theon Greyjoy was the last. I had not looked to see you here, my lady, he said as he knelt. It was very similar to, I guess I said, Catelyn 3 and Clash. Yep. Lady Stark, Stannis Baratheon said with chill courtesy as he reined up. He inclined his head balder than she remembered. Lord Stannis, she returned. Beneath the tight-trimmed beard, his heavy jaw clenched hard, but he did not hector her about titles. For that she was duly grateful. I had not thought to find you at Storm's End. I had not thought to be here. Anyway.
Yeah.
Don't bother, sweetling, Tyrion thought, swirling the wine in the cup. He cares not a whit about carvings. The eyes he boasts of are his own. What he means is that he was watching, that he knew we were here the moment we passed through the gates. So that's, Tyrion definitely understands how the game is played and how people talk and so forth.
Yeah. It reminds me of, did you ever watch the second Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr.?
I think I did.
Well, him and the bad guy, I forget his name.
Moriarty?
Yeah, Moriarty, yeah. Well, he's doing that thing where he's doing the moves for a fight in his head. And then all of a sudden, you got Moriarty saying, two could play at this game. And he starts doing the same thing in his head. And then you see the actual fight. Well, that's the same thing here with Tyrion and Varys. They both know there's a hidden language going on, and they're both speaking it quite well.
As long as we're going to talk about movies, movie references, have you ever seen Next?
Yeah. I freaking love that movie. It's a really good concept. It was really good.
Yeah.
there was
I
supposed
think
to
it's based
be.
on a Philip K. Dick story.
Well, it was supposed to be a sequel to it, but apparently it didn't do good enough at the box office for him to do a sequel.
That's too bad. Anyway,
Yeah,
I like Nicolas Cage.
yeah.
In the streets, they call it the Red Messenger, Varys said. They say it comes as a herald before a king to warn of fire and blood to follow. The eunuch rubbed his powdered hands together. May I leave you with a bit of a riddle, Lord Tyrion? He did not wait for an answer. In a room sit three great men, a king, a priest, and a rich man with his gold. Between them stands a sellsword, a little man of common birth and no great mind. Each of the great ones bid him slay the other two. Do it, says the king, for I am your lawful ruler. Do it, says the priest, for I command you in the name of the gods. Do it, says the rich man, and all this gold shall be yours. So tell me, who lives and who dies? Bowing deeply, the eunuch hurried from the common room on soft, slippered feet. When he was gone, Chella gave a snort, and Shay wrinkled up her pretty face. The rich man lives, doesn't he? Tyrion sipped at his wine, thoughtful. Perhaps, or not. That would depend on the sellsword, it seems. Sammy! Leah! Hey! Come here! Come here! Hey! I don't know if there's might be a delivery or something. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Power resides where men believe it resides.
Yeah, I love this riddle. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And later on, he'll actually tell Varys that it depends on the sellsword, and Varys will be like, how so? It's, he's anyway.
Yeah.
So what will you do, my lord, now that you're the hand of the king? Shay asked him as he cut that warm, sweet flesh. Something Cersei will never expect. Tyrion murmured softly against her slender neck. I'll do justice. Will he, though? Dogs don't like this riddle any more than Tyrion. Yep.
Oh, Lizzie, we love you. That was
I'm
freaking
sorry
awesome.
about this. Anyway.
It's okay. In the beginning of it, when you have Varys snatch up the parchment and inspects the seal, says it looks legit and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah,
yeah. Do you think he knew what it was in that? Do you think he knew what was already in that letter saying that Tyrion was behind?
Probably.
Okay.
I mean,
I always got the feeling that he knew.
Yeah. I think he's aware of what's happening. And roughly, he may not have known the exact contents of the letter, but I think he kind of knew what was going on. Trying to think. Oh yeah. So you brought up that he specifically inspects the legitimacy of the letter, right? And we've talked before that every time they do that, it's to set up the idea that there'll be false letters later. And there's a few. There's some clues that potentially that the pink letter is not the first false letter. He knew something if he went out of his way to make sure she publicly announced legitimacy. Yep.
So I didn't even think of that. Freaking awesome, Lizzie.
Yeah. I think it's, and I do also think that George tries to establish this pattern so that when the letters in Dance come, that they may not be as obviously legitimate, right?
Right.
In fact,
I didn't even think about that, Lizzie. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. In fact, the smeared pink almost sounds like what would happen if you tried to reseal wax, right? And if you tried to remelt it and reseal a letter that you'd altered inside Castle Black, right? And so that's where the Order of the Green Hand theory comes in, right? That who benefits is one of the first things you need to ask about these things. And the person who really benefited from that was Bowen Marsh. Bowen Marsh is the one who was specifically eating with Mance Rayder when he was not wearing his bones. So one of the things he would likely know is that the king had been burned and not really burned in terms of the King Beyond the Wall, right? So that's one of the things that's in the pink letter that's suspicious as to how would Ramsay know it. There's anyway, the real giveaway to me is Clytus, and Clytus is absolutely terrified to be delivering that letter to John. He absolutely knows what's in the letter before John reads it, and it's very clear that he does.
I didn't catch that. All right, you gotta maybe read. I have to go now read that chapter. It's
So
so
yeah,
much.
it's definitely the final version of it's definitely from inside the Castle Black, but does that? But it contains information that likely arrived, right? So and Mel saw that there was going to be a letter arriving, right? And
Right.
so it contains it's a combination of information, potentially misleading information, either because Ramsay's been misled, right? I mean, that's the concept here, right? Ramsay's been misled to believe that Stannis is dead, right? And so they get
Okay.
this letter that gives them that information that's false, right? And then they change it to include the information about Mance and so forth. So anyway, and of course the whole point of the letter is to cause John to forsake his vows and go south, which is what Mance, Bowen Marsh is trying to have happen, right? So it's manipulating John to do what Bowen Marsh wants.
I have to read it again. It's amazing how many times you can read the same book and still not get that light bulb moment when you read a chapter the first 5 times, and you read it the sixth time with the specific intent of writing down stuff that you see. Of course, with me, I probably knew it the first time I read it, but I've already forgot it with my memory. But to
Well, I
go
mean,
through this,
the first time you read it, you're just absorbing what's happening. You're not trying to figure everything out, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, when we got the books, I went through the first 2 books so fast because I was told they were pretty good with the show type situation. There's not a whole lot of differences and all that stuff. So I was just trying to get to book 3. And so the first time reading I didn't catch anything in the first 2 books at all. But specifically going through this time with you, it has made me slow down and look a whole lot harder and think about the paragraph I just read. And
Right.
then I'm like, damn, it's like being back in high school again. I mean, it's almost like homework. But it's fun homework that I don't
Right.
mind doing. But
Right.
I know I've told you thank you before, but going through this with you has made me appreciate the books even more than I already did. So thank you.
Yep. First read through is always a frenzy of excitement for me. Second is retaining and forming conspiracies.
Yeah, it's true. My doctor says it takes 7 times for my brain to retain information, so I might have to read it again after this.
Sounds good.
There you
go. So Bran is up next, and this is the one where we hear about the slaying of the season and the blood and fire, nothing sweet, and be Dragon's boy, and
also before we go, Shay makes the comment about she starts the "you're gonna miss me, you're gonna wish I was there" type situation, trying to get into the there you go. That's freaking awesome. But it's like you'll miss me all the time in your red keep. She's already starting to fight or to set the seeds of she wants to be inside the red keep with him. Yes, I think it's the very first time we get that with her, and it's subtle. It's not like jumping out off the page or anything, but it is the first time we get it, and everybody's like, Shay wants to be there. Shay wants to be with him, knowing what's going on.
And whether she's with Dorne or Littlefinger or Varys or Tywin, either way, no matter what, she's trying to be a spy for somebody, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have an opinion on it. It's not that. I mean, it's 50-50. I think Shay is Salaris, and I think she actually poisons Tywin. And the funny thing about the poisoning of Tywin, George R. R. Martin says that pulling the bolt out as quickly as they did is what caused the
stench.
Right, the stench and the corruption of the body while it's being viewed. All right, that doesn't mean there's no poison there. That's just where the poison went and clogged things up. So when you pull that bolt out, you're pulling the poison out with the feces. Not to get too.
Sure, and as I said before, I don't think that George confirming that one interpretation is correct means that he doesn't intend it to have multiple interpretations.
Yeah, I know that was a bit off topic. Sorry.
That's right. So we've been jumping around, and heck, we were talking about next.
Well, it's hard to keep me on track, anyways. But
that was my fault. I just when you talk about somebody picturing, and I do remember Sherlock doing that with and them doing that, but yeah, that also does remind me of that whole concept does remind me of next.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome. I might have to go watch that movie again today.
All right.
All right. Next is Bran. Today's Friday, as always on Friday. We do wish the people that are watching, Lizzie, Lady Thistle, the Valonqar said he's doing a whole lot better. My sister said she can't see my shirts, even though she can see your shirts. So I got House Stark on. He's got his triplet Targaryen. But we do appreciate y'all joining us this week. Please stay safe, have a fun and hopefully a really awesome weekend. And then we'll see y'all on Monday with Bran 1. Hold on a second.
That sure counts as two.
Lizzie and Lady Thistle, I cannot wait till the night's book club. So I will see y'all there or hear y'all there. So as always, stay safe. Have a really good weekend. We really appreciate it. And y'all take care.
Absolutely.
Bye.